Hill, Blakesley, Calderon, Canella, Corbett, Correa, De Leon, DeSaulnier, Dutton, Emerson, Evans, Fuller, Gaines, Hancock, Harmon, Hernandez, Huff, Kehoe, LaMalfa, Leno, Ted Lieu, Carol Lieu, Lowenthal, Negrete McLeod, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Rubio, Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Vargas, Walters, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee.
The absence of a quorum having been duly noted, the Sergeant-at-Arms will please lock the doors and call the absent members. Sergeant-at-Arms, please call the absent members. Members, a quorum has been established. Would the members and our guests beyond the rail and in the gallery please rise? We will be led in prayer this afternoon by our chaplain, Rabbi Mona Alfi, after which please remain standing. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Senator Strickland.
Good afternoon. O God of all humanity, as we return to the sacred task of serving the people of California, may we be ever mindful of the importance of our work and the profound impact it has on the lives of the men, women, and children of this state. May we also remember this afternoon the 30 U.S. soldiers killed last week in Afghanistan in the single deadliest attack since the war began, a painful reminder of the thousands of men and women who have lost their lives in service to our country. May their courage and dedication inspire us to act with selflessness and loyalty to our country and its citizens. May we never take for granted the freedom and democratic ideals that they sought to protect and preserve. May this be God's will. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Senator Strickland. Members, we are at privileges of the floor. Members, do we have any items to be taken up under privileges of the floor? If not, we will move to messages from the governor, which will be deemed read. We are at messages from the Assembly, which will be deemed read. Reports of committees, which will be deemed read, and amendments adopted. Senator Correa, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Asking permission to have a guest on the floor, my son Adam.
Without objection, so ordered. Members, we are under motions and resolutions. Motions and resolutions. Senator Negrete-McLeod, for what purpose do you rise, Senator?
Under motions and resolutions.
Senator, one
Mr.
moment,
President.
please. If we could ask members in the chambers to give their attention, please. Members? Forgive me, Senator Negrete-McLeod, it's the first day back to school. One moment, please. Please proceed, Senator.
Do you need to tug ears? Mr. President, I request unanimous consent to return Senate Bills 349 and 704 to the Assembly for further action.
Without objection, so ordered. Thank you, Senator. Do we have other items under motions and resolutions? Other items under motions and resolutions? There are floor amendments at the desk, members. They will be deemed adopted. Without objection, so ordered. Senator Steinberg, for what purpose do you rise, sir? Thank you. Members, that takes us to consideration of the daily file. Our goal today is to take up items on unfinished business. These are items 12 through 43. 12 through 43. Forgive me, members, before we move to unfinished business, Mr. Secretary, could we ask that you read the second reading file?
Assembly Bill 623 with amendments, Assembly Bill 1121, and Assembly Bill 1178.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We are now at unfinished business, members. The first item is file item 12. Senator Evans? Absent. File item 13. Senator Saulnier, not at his desk. File item 14, Senator Yee, not at his desk. File item 15, Senator Yee, not at his desk. File item 16, Senator Padilla. Senator Padilla, thank you. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 332 by Senator Padilla, enacting to tenancies.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, SB 332 is back from the Assembly with overwhelming bipartisan support for concurrence on clarifying technical amendments. This bill would clarify in state law that apartment owners and landlords do indeed have the right to designate a portion or a multi-unit dwelling in its entirety as smoke-free units. In doing so, the bill would also maintain current state and federal law as it pertains to both eviction processes as well as any other federal or state laws as it pertains to rental or lease agreements. Ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, Blakesley, I. Calderon, Canella, Corbett, I. Correa, De Leon, I. DeSaulnier, Dutton, I. Emerson, Evans, Fuller, I. Gaines, Hancock, I. Harmon, I. Hernandez, Huff, I. Kehoe, LaMalfa, I. Leno, I. Ted Lieu, Carol Lieu, I. Lowenthal, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Padilla, I. Pavley, Price, Rubio, I. Runner, Smidian,
Aye.
I. Steinberg, I. Strickland, I. Vargas, I. Walters, Wolk, I. Wright, I. Wyland, I. Yee. Yee, aye. Correa, aye.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Anderson, aye. Alquist, Berryhill, Calderon, Canella, DeSaulnier, Emerson, Evans, Gaines, Hernandez, Kehoe, Ted Lieu, Pavley, Price, Runner, Walters. DeSaulnier, aye.
Ayes 26, no 0. Senator Padilla moves a call.
Alquist, aye.
Ayes 27, no 0. Senator Padilla moves a call. Members, we have a couple of folks who have just arrived in the chambers, so I'd like to return to file item 14. Senator Yee, are you prepared to take this item up?
Present.
Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 105 by Senator Yee, an act relating to public safety.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This bill would establish mandatory requirements for helmets, or wearing helmets for skier and snowboarders under the age 18. This bill is back on concurrence, and the amendments were only technical and addressed the spelling errors suggested by the Senate engrossing and enrolling, and to add co-authors, and with that as urge an aye vote.
Is there debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, aye. Anderson, no. Berryhill, Blakesley, aye. Calderon, Canella, Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. De Leon, aye. DeSaulnier, aye. Dutton, Emerson, aye. Evans, Fuller, no. Gaines, Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hernandez, Huff, Kehoe, LaMalfa, no. Leno, aye. Ted Lieu, Carol Lieu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Padilla, aye. Pavley, Price, Rubio, aye. Runner, Smidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, Vargas, aye. Walters, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, Wyland, no. Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Berryhill, no. Kehoe, aye. Calderon, Canella, Dutton, aye. Evans, Gaines, Hernandez, Huff, Ted Lieu, Pavley, Price, Runner, Strickland, Wright.
Ayes 23, noes 5. Senator Yee moves a call. Members, we're going to return briefly to file item 13. Senator DeSaulnier. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 563 by the Committee on Transportation and Housing, enacting to common interest developments.
Thank you, Mr. President. SB 563 helps to have common interest development clarify how they use the internet when they have meetings. The Assembly amendments just make it simpler for people to understand when there's a consensus to have a meeting. They can do it by email. I would ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Hancock. Harmon. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. LaMalfa. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Smidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Gaines. Aye.
Mr. Secretary, please
Kehoe,
call
aye.
the absent members.
Calderon. Evans. Hernandez. Price. Ted Lieu. Runner.
Ayes 34, noes 0. Senator DeSaulnier moves a call. Members, we are at file item 15. Senator Yee. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 111 by Senator Yee, enacting to civil rights.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This bill basically would prevent any business from requiring the use of English language when clearly that has nothing to do with one's job function. And so this bill is back in concurrence, and what happened in the Assembly was that there were narrowing amendments to address concerns of the opposition that the bill would be misconstrued to imply unintended obligations. This bill, in fact, would not be or businesses would not be in violations of the Unruh Civil Rights Act for simply failing to put a signage in a particular language unless the duty to is otherwise required by law. Now there's no opposition with this bill currently. With that, urge an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. No. Calderon. Canella. No. Corbett. Aye. Correa. No. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. No. No. Emerson. No. Evans. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. No. Hernandez. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Smidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. No. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee. Aye.
Ayes 19, noes 15. Senator Yee moves a call. Members, we are now at file item 17. We are back in order on the file. Senator Hernandez, not at his desk. File item 18, Senator Padilla. Are you prepared to take this item up? Senator Padilla is. Mr. Secretary, please read. Mr. Secretary, one moment, please. Members, if we could have your attention, please. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 493 by Senator Padilla, an act relating to state property and declaring the urge thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you very much. Members, this bill is a part of California's ongoing policy leadership in its efforts to close the digital divide. SB 493 would give the Department of General Services the authority to make surplus computers available at less than fair market value to nonprofit organizations that operate computer centers in partnership with public schools in the state of California. The bill would also increase our efforts to ensure that all confidential, sensitive, and personal data is removed from any and all commuters prior to their disposition, be it to these computer centers or to our e-waste programs. Currently, the vast majority of computers are not given to local schools, as is allowed by state law, but rather California pays to have them properly disposed of electronically. In lieu of spending money to get rid of surplus computers, the state of California can actually achieve some modest revenues as a result, while helping schools and nonprofit organizations who are receiving other types of state and federal support by increasing digital literacy and digital access. This bill is back from the Assembly for concurrence on some technical amendments, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee, aye. Strickland, aye. Okay. Harmon, aye. Berryhill. Aye. Calderon. Dutton. Aye. Evans. Hernandez. Pavley. Aye. Runner. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Ayes 32, noes 4. The bill is passed. Forgive me, members. Ayes 32, noes 4 on the urgency. Ayes 32, noes 4 on the concurrence. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 19, Senator Hernandez. Not at his desk. File item 20, Senator Gaines. Are you prepared to take up this item? Mr.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 751 by Senator Gaines, enacting to health care coverage.
Good morning, Mr. President and members. I bring to you today Senate Bill 751 and ask for concurrence in amendments taken in the Assembly Health Committee. The amendments taken are a negotiation that removes opposition from the California Hospital Association. They provide consumers with notification about circumstances about which hospital costs may vary, and further technical amendments. This bill has no votes. With that, I'd ask for an aye vote on concurrence in Assembly amendments. Thank you.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Calderon. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. De Leon. DeSaulnier. I. Dutton. I. Emerson. I. Evans. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Hancock. I. Harmon. I. Hernandez. Huff. I. Kehoe. I. LaMalfa. I. Leno. I. Ted Lieu. Carol Lieu. I. Lowenthal. I. Negrete McLeod. I. Padilla. I. Pavley. Price. I. Rubio. Runner. Smidian. I. Steinberg. I. Strickland. Vargas. I. Walters. I. Wolk. I. Wright. I. Wyland. I. Yee. Yee, aye. Correa, aye. Blakesley, aye. Ted Lieu, aye. Rubio, aye.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Calderon. De Leon, aye. Evans. Hernandez. Pavley, aye. Runner. Strickland. Strickland, aye. Mr. President.
Ayes 36, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 21, Senator DeSaulnier. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 21 by Senator DeSaulnier relative to the Martinez Police Sergeant Paul Starzyk Memorial Overcrossing.
Mr. President, this resolution is just to identify this overcrossing to be named after Sergeant Paul Starzyk. Sergeant Starzyk was killed responding to a domestic violence call. I think it's appropriate to name this facility after him, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Members, is there any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing no objection, ayes 37, adding Senator Calderon to our previous unanimous roll call. Without objection, ayes 37, noes 0 on concurrence with the Assembly amendments. The amendments are concurred in. Members, file item 22. No author. File item 23, Senator Price, not at his desk. File item 24, Senator Correa, not at his desk. File item 25, Senator Correa. Would you like to take up file item 24, Senator Correa, before we get to... We will return to file item 24. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 264 by Senator Correa enacting to skateboard parks.
Mr. President, Senators, this bill would enable public entities to maintain their current skateboard parks with less risk of liability. This may result in greater recreational opportunities for their citizens and new skateboard parks being constructed. I ask for an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Members, is there any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call? Any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call? Without objection, ayes 37, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. That brings us to file item 25. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 327 by the Committee on Elections and Constitutional Amendments enacting to elections.
Thank you, Mr. Senators. This bill is the Senate Elections and Constitutional Amendments Committee omnibus legislation making various technical, non-controversial changes to the Elections Code. I ask for an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Members, is there any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call? Any objection to substituting the previous unanimous roll call? Without objection, ayes 37, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 26, Senator Wolk. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 339 by Senator Wolk enacting to alcoholic beverages.
Mr. President, I request unanimous consent to return the Senate Bill 339 to the Assembly for further action.
Members, without objection, So ordered. Senator Strickland, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Under motions and resolutions, introduction.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I have three guests with me. One is my constituent, very good friend, Bo Derrick, who's in the back of the chamber. Here with us also is Sue Chen, who is founder of CEO of Nova Ortho Med Incorporated. And also with us is Peter Knights. Peter's executive director of Wild Aid. Please, members, give him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Strickland, and a welcome to our guests. We're pleased to have you here in the California State Senate. Members, that takes us to file item 27. Senator Negrete-McLeod, are you prepared to take this item up? Further action? It went back. Thank you. File item 28, Senator LaMalfa. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 390 by Senator LaMalfa, enacting to crimes.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Good to be back. This bill, SB 390, aligns the search and rescue personnel that are under the guise of law enforcement and governmental agencies, adds them to the list of the public safety personnel for which there are punishment enhancements for violations of an assault or battery. Again, this pertains to search and rescue personnel. This bill passed all the way through on consent so far. Was consent on the Assembly floor, and it simply returns for concurrence on non-substantive double joining language. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, is there debate or discussion? Debate or discussion. Seeing and hearing none. Members, is there any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call? Any objection to substituting the previous unanimous roll call? Senator LaMalfa, apparently you have no objection. That being the case, ayes 37, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 29, Senator Carol Liu. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 406 by Senator Liu, enacting to battery.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I ask for your support on concurrence for SB 406. This bill adds security officers and custody assistants to the Penal Code section for battery. The bill is back on concurrence because chaptering out amendments were made in the Assembly. There are no other changes in the bill, which passed the Senate 38-0 in May. This legislation will deter battery against those public safety personnel and will allow prosecutors to seek stronger penalties. The L.A. County Professional Peace Officers Association and L.A. County Sheriff Lee Baca requested the legislation, and I ask for your vote on concurrence.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call? Without objection, ayes 37, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. Members, we are at file item 30. Senator Calderon, file item 30. Pass. File item 31, Senator Kehoe. Not at her desk. File item 32, Senator Price. Not at his desk. File item 33, Senator Corbett. You're prepared to take this item up. Mr.
Yes.
Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 636 by Senator Corbett, enacting to personal information.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 636 provides further protection to individuals who are participating in the Safe at Home program, allowing them to submit a written request to remove personal identifying information from Internet websites. This bill passed out of the Assembly on a 76-0 vote, and it was amended in the Assembly to add co-authors and specify how long the Secretary of State's office must maintain records. I ask for your aye vote in concurrence.
Debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Members, is there any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call? Without objection, ayes 37, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 34, Senator Dutton. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 724 by Senator Dutton, enacting to air pollution.
Yeah, Mr. President and members, this bill is back for concurrence with Assembly amendments. This version of the bill is identical to what was originally passed out of the Senate on a 39-0 vote. The amendments, there were some errors that took place, and this basically puts it back to what it was when it left the Senate on the unanimous vote. I request a aye vote.
Members, is there any debate or discussion? If not, any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call? Seeing no objection, ayes 37, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 35, Senator Blakesley. Pass, thank you. File item 36, Senator Kehoe. Not at her desk. File item 37, Senator Correa. Not at his desk. File item 38, Senator Pavley.
Pass on file.
Pass on file.
So, pass on file.
File item 39, Simidian, pass temporarily. Come back shortly when we have another presiding officer. File item 40, Senator Kehoe. Not at her desk. Sergeant, could we ask the staff to see if Senator Kehoe is available? She has a couple of items she might like to take up. Senator Lowenthal, file item 41. You are prepared to take this item up. We'll ask the Secretary to please read.
Senate Bill 341 by Senator Lowenthal, enacting to vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. SB 341 simply requires that commercial vehicles with gross vehicle weight of over 14,000 pounds that transport construction or industrial materials to and from a construction or a mine site be equipped with an automatic backup alarm. Assembly amendments was simply clarifying in nature as to what vehicles specifically this measure applies to. This is a bipartisan measure. It has no opposition. I respectfully ask for your concurrence in Assembly amendments.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Cannella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Harmon. Aye. Hernandez. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Aye. LaMalfa, no. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Simidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee, aye. Berryhill, aye. Blakesley, aye.
Call the absent members.
Evans. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Price. Aye. Runner. Strickland. Walters.
Ayes 33, noes 2. The amendments are concurred in. File item 42. Members, file item 42 has been returned to the Assembly. That takes us to file item 43. Senator Hancock. Passed temporarily. Members, one moment, please.
I'm passing it on. Members, we're going to move to file item 39 so that Senator Simidian can present. File item 39, the Secretary will read.
Senate Bill 28 by Senator Simidian, enacting to vehicles.
Senator Simidian.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, this item is substantially the same as when it left the Senate. This is the measure that increases somewhat the fines and penalties for cell phone violations on the highway. The only amendments on the Assembly side were minor and technical to address chaptering out issues. The bill passed off the Senate floor 24-12 earlier this year. If you were for it at that time, I expect you're for it today, and if you were against it at that time, I expect you're against it today. I would ask for an aye vote on concurrence.
Members, is there testimony on the bill? Senator Harman.
Yes, I had a question of the author.
Senator Simitian, are you inclined to take a question?
Be pleased to take a question.
Senator Harman, go right
Could
ahead.
you remind me, Senator, what is the fine moved from what to what? That's question one. And then question two, there are penalty assessments on most types of these fines. What will the bottom line be for, I guess, a first offender, second offender, something along that line? What's the total?
Thank you, Senator Harman. The answer to the first question is that the base fine for a first offense on the bill in chief, base fine for a first offense, will go from $20 to $50 as a first offense. As I indicated when I presented the bill previously on the Senate floor, that is still half, just half of the standard fee for a vehicle code violation. So if you are in the carpool lane unlawfully, if you are littering on the highway, if you are riding in the trunk of the car, the standard fine would be $100 as a base fine. This measure will still go only to $50, half the standard base fine. The answer to your second question is that that will kick the fine up in real terms with additional penalties and assessments from $160 to $180 currently to about $300 and change as a result of the bump. That's because there are penalties and fees assessed that vary from county to county. Again, the total will be roughly half of what the standard fine is. We had good support from folks in the industry, the cell phone industry who supported the bill, as well as AAA, as well as other highway safety groups, Driving Instruction, Bicycle Coalition, all still supporting the bill, and I would respectfully ask for an aye vote on concurrence.
Senator Gaines.
Yeah, I just rise in opposition, very concerned about increasing of any fee, but certainly in an economy like this, even doubly so. So just urgent a no vote. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, members? Senator Simitian, would you care to close?
Thank you. Just to correct what may have been a misunderstanding by the previous speaker, there is no fee in the bill. There is a fine for unlawful behavior. There is a fine for unlawful behavior. As long as you follow the law, there is no fine. So the way to both keep folks safe and to avoid that fine is to follow the law. Madam President, members, as I mentioned when I raised the bill previously, back in 2006 when we passed the hands-free law, California lost 89 residents to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and understandably and appropriately mourned them. 256 people died in fires, and that led the news most nights. There were 2,483 homicides that year, and every one of them was widely reported. But there were more than 4,000 automobile fatalities, and we act as if that's something we simply have to accept. We don't. We can do better. The existing law resulted in a 20% drop in fatalities and collisions in the first year after the hands-free bill was passed. We have only 60 to 70% compliance, however. We could do better. If we do better, we'll save more lives, we'll avoid more collisions, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote on concurrence.
The Senator Anderson, do you have something now?
Was that the senator's
That
close?
was his close, yes.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you. Senator Gaines.
I'm wondering if the author would let me respond to
just one moment.
earlier comment.
The author's closed. The debate is over, and I would prefer that we go to the secretary and call the rolls. Call the roll, please.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. No. Canella. No. Corbett. Aye. Correa. No. De Leon. DeSaulnier. De Leon, aye. DeSaulnier, aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. Evans. Fuller. No. Gaines. Hancock. Aye. Harman. No. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. No. Kehoe. LaMalfa. No. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. I, Price. I, Rubio. I, Runner. Smidian. I, Steinberg. I, Strickland. No, Vargas. I, Walters. No, Wolk. I, Wright. I, Wyland. No, Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Emerson. Evans. Gaines. No. Kehoe.
Aye.
Aye. Negrete McLeod. Runner. Berryhill. No to aye.
The vote is 23 ayes, no 13. The Assembly amendments are concurred in.
Thank you, Senator Kehoe. Members, returning to unfinished business, we have worked the file from file item 12 to file item 43. Are there any items which we passed over while members were out of the chambers on from file item 12 to file item 43? Senator Pavley. What item, Senator?
File item 13, AB 1414. File item 13, A13, yes, AB 1414.
Senator Pavley, file item 13 is SB 563, and my notes indicate that that measure is on call.
Then the information I have in front of me is incorrect. It was an Assembly Committee on Natural Resources, Forestry, Timber Harvesting bill.
Let me ask that you come forward and work with our desk staff to clear
Very
up the
good.
confusion. Thank you. Members, we have some items on call. We will return now to those items and lift the call. We will return to those items and lift the call. Ask that all members who wish to be recorded return so that we can lift the call. Mr. Secretary? Members, we are lifting the call on unfinished business. First item is file item 16. Secretary, call the absent members.
Berryhill. Calderon. Canella. Aye. Emerson. Berryhill, aye. Emerson, aye. Evans. Gaines. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. Tedlew. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Runner. Walters. Walters, aye.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The amendments are concurred in. File item 14, please lift the call.
Calderon. Aye. Canella. Evans. Gaines. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Tedlew. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Runner. Strickland. Wright. Wright, aye.
Call the absent members.
Pavley, aye. Canella. Evans. Huff. Aye. Runner. Strickland.
Ayes 31, noes 5. The amendments are concurred in. Members, I believe that brings us to file item 13. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Calderon. Aye. Evans. Hernandez. Aye. Tedlew. Price. Aye. Runner.
Please call the absent members.
Evans. Tedlew. Aye. Runner.
Ayes 38, noes 0. Amendments are concurred in. File item 15. Please call the absent members.
Calderon, Evans, Hernandez, aye. Tedlu, aye. Price, aye. Runner. Calderon, aye.
Call the absent members.
Evans, Runner.
Ayes 23, noes 15. The amendments are concurred in. Members, I believe that is all of the items that we had on call. Senator Hancock, returning to file item 43, you wish to take that measure up, is that correct?
I do.
We'll ask the Secretary to please read.
Senate Bill 774 by Senator Hancock, enacting community colleges.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. The Assembly Committee on Higher Education and the Assembly returned SB 774 for concurrence with some technical amendments. The bill allows the parking fee cap in community college districts to increase from $40 a semester to $50 and attaches an inflator to the fee cap to be used for parking police, security, and parking structure maintenance. 34 community colleges last year had to go into their general fund money, which is used to maintain course offerings to pay for parking, and this would allow them to use all their money to serve their students. SB 774 received bipartisan support in the Senate and the Assembly. I ask for your aye vote on concurrence.
Is there debate or discussion? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, aye. Anderson, no. Berryhill, no. Blakesley, Calderon, aye. Canella, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, no. De Leon, aye. DeSaulnier, aye. Dutton, Emerson, aye. Evans, Fuller, aye. Gaines, no. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hernandez, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa, no. Leno, aye. Tedlu, Carolou, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Negrete McLeod, no. Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Rubio, aye. Runner, Semidian, Steinberg, aye. Strickland, no. Vargas, aye. Walters, no. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, no. Yee, aye. Blakesley, aye.
Please call the absent member.
Dutton, Evans, Tedlu, aye. Runner, Semidian.
Aye.
Semidian, aye.
Ayes 28, noes 9. The amendments are concurred in. Members, are there any other items on the file items 12 through 43, that members wish to take up at this time? Seeing none, we will move then to the special consent calendar. Members, if I could have your attention for one moment, please. Items 175 through 192 are on our special consent calendar. I'm advised by the desk that members may wish to remove items from that consent calendar. If so, members, this is the time. Senator Wyland, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
To do precisely that, Mr. President, at the request of the author, I'd like to remove AB 1309, file item 182, from the special consent calendar and place it on the inactive file, please.
Without objection and at the request of the author, so ordered. Thank you. Any other items that members wish to remove from the special consent calendar? Senator Corbett.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to remove item 187, which is AB 914, from the special consent calendar at the request of the author.
Without objection, so ordered. Senator Padilla, for what purpose?
Mr. President, at the request of the author, would like to remove item 192, which is AB 1073, from special consent.
Without objection. Thank you, Senator. Senator Yee?
Mr. President, at the request of the author, remove AB 1055 from the special consent.
Do you have the file item, Senator? That is file item 188. Thank you very much, members. Any other items that members wish to remove from the consent calendar, special consent, at this time? Senator De Leon, not on this item? Thank you. Then, Mr. Secretary, please read the special consent calendar as amended by the request of the members.
Senate Bill 423, Senate Bill 488, 110, Assembly Bill 1398, 434, 1300, 143, 274, 387, 547, 1350.
Without objection, deemed read. Members, is there any objection to substituting our unanimous roll call on the special consent calendar? Ayes 38, noes 0 on the special consent calendar. Members, that takes us to motions and resolutions. Once again, under motions and resolutions, I would ask that we remove AB 1430, which is file item A10, from the inactive file at the request of the author. Without objection, so ordered. Members, other items under motions and resolutions. Senator De Leon, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, adjournment in memory.
Please proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, as well as colleagues. I rise to adjourn in the memory
Senator
of Ambassador.
De Leon, one moment, please. Members, if we could have your attention, please. Senator De Leon, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, as well as colleagues. I rise to adjourn in the memory of Ambassador Charles T. Manette, founder and co-chairman of the venerable Los Angeles law firm Manette, Phelps & Phillips, who passed away July 22nd, just last month, at the age of 75. Over a storied 50-year career, Mr. Manette mastered the business of politics and the politics of business. He was known throughout the legal, business, and political civic circles as a visionary leader. In addition to co-founding the prominent national law firm that bears his name, Mr. Manette served as the chairman of the Democratic National Committee from 1981 to 1985 and served as U.S. ambassador to the Dominican Republic from 1999 to 2001, as well as on numerous corporate as well as education civic boards. He served as co-chairman of Bill Clinton's presidential campaign in 1992. As DNC chair, Mr. Manette was known for helping usher in the modern era in Democratic campaigns and for the bipartisan approach. As ambassador, he advocated for the DR-CAFTA trade agreement between the United States and the Caribbean and Central American countries and achieved progress on several bilateral issues. Dominican President Hipólito Mejia awarded him the Medal of Duarte Sanchez y Melilla, the country's highest diplomatic honor. While Mr. Manette was widely respected and admired on a professional level, his closest allies, friends, as well as colleagues and clients and family simply knew him as Chuck. Chuck was a man of good humor, honesty, and honor, and above reproach when it came to business, legal, and political accomplishments. Mr. Manette was a loving husband, father of three, and a father of three, and a grandfather of three. He was born in Chicago back in June 9th, 1936, and he was obviously drawn to politics at a very young age. He was elected the chair of the California Democratic Party back in 1969 and served as the finance chair of the DNC during the Carter administration. Lastly, I want to highlight that in February 1981, when he was elected chairman of the Democratic National Committee, he made some of his biggest marks on politics nationwide. He oversaw the rebuilding of the party structure, both literally as well as figuratively, after a few years of decline. He headed the construction movement for the DNC, the headquarters. If you go back to Washington, D.C., the headquarters adjacent to Capitol Hill, that is Chuck Manette right there. He is survived by his three children, Michelle Manette, his son who lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Father Timothy Manette, as well as his youngest son, Daniel. Our prayers go to him, his family, and the larger political family throughout the nation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator De Leon. And Senator De Leon, the desk asked if you could bring the name forward to be sure that Ambassador Manette's passing is properly memorialized.
Thank you.
Members, before we go to others, are there any others who wish to speak with reference to the passing of Ambassador Manette? Senator Wright.
I think I would concur with everything that Senator De Leon said. I don't know if it's fortunate enough or old enough or both to have been a friend of Chuck Manette's. And what a lot of people may not know about Chuck is that Chuck's political involvement goes back with a firm that he helped found that was called Wyman Boutzer. And Eugene Wyman was a political figure in California for some time. People who were involved in LA politics will remember that Eugene Wyman's wife was Rosalind Wyman, who was one of the early women members of the Los Angeles City Council, who was responsible for bringing the Dodgers from Brooklyn. And I know Mr. Lowenthal is very concerned about that, but we took the Dodgers from Brooklyn and brought them to Los Angeles with Rosalind Wyman. But one of the other things that Mr. Manette was involved in was banking law. And the first two African-American banks in the state of California were actually chartered by Chuck Manette, because in addition to all of the other works that he was involved in, he was also involved in a kind of multicultural economic effort. Not only did his firm reflect that kind of diversity, but his business practice reflected that. And as party chair and as state party chair, Chuck Manette always sought to make an inclusive big tent effort. So I had the great pleasure of knowing him and working with him. There are a number of people very quietly that Chuck Manette actually financed their law school careers. If you worked hard at the Democratic Party, Chuck Manette would actually finance higher education for people. His list of charities and accomplishments is far too numerous to mention. But I think as Kevin, my colleague, De Leon said, Senator, he was just a great guy for both the Democratic Party, the state of California, and the United States of America.
Thank you, Senator Wright. Senator Steinberg on this issue.
Thank you very much. I know that a number of members are speaking in memory of Charles Manette. There are some of his colleagues here, and therefore I'd like to request unanimous consent to suspend Senate Rule 55 to allow a lobbyist, a colleague of late Mr. Manette, to be on the floor here without objection.
Without objection?
And then maybe I'll take my quick point of privilege here just to say my couple of words before you call on others. I want to welcome Tom McMorrow, who's a senior partner from the Manette firm out here out of Sacramento. Welcome to you, and we're sorry for your loss, the loss of the great Charles Manette. Anyone and everyone, and Senator De Leon and Senator Wright and Senator Padilla, others will sure recount his professional accomplishments. I'd just like to say that I had heard of Mr. Manette. He was sort of a legend, but both in terms of the Manette law firm. I think I actually interviewed at the firm when I was in my third year of law school. I don't think they hired me, but that's another story. I always wanted to meet Mr. Manette, and then 2 years ago, after I became pro tem, I was back in Washington, D.C., and he asked me if I would have dinner, and we went to one of the old Washington supper clubs and had dinner together. And I'll always remember it. A man of just great generosity, generous spirit, who really loved not only the Democratic Party, but loved the country, and was always interested in the next generation and making things better and improving the country. And he was a real patriot. And I'm just so glad I got the opportunity one time to have dinner, and I won't forget it in his memory. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Steinberg. Senator Padilla, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. On this tribute as well.
Please proceed.
And I'll try not to be too repetitive. I know both Senator Wright and Senator De Leon were pretty comprehensive in covering the life and legacy of the man I got to know as Chuck Manat, having first been introduced by a very, very good mutual friend, no stranger to those of us in the Los Angeles delegation, Maureen Kindle, who connected us both while we were in Los Angeles, as well as on a few trips to Washington, D.C., and certainly by phone. Always very pleasant and entertaining conversations about policy, as well as politics, from a local, state, national, and international level. I think a couple of things that do bear pointing out, lest our Republican colleagues think we're going on and on about just a Democratic leader. As Senator Steinberg said, he cared about this country so much so that he got involved in politics, and it just so happened to be pursuing democratic ideals and values. But what can be more American than someone who was raised on a farm in Iowa as we enter the presidential election cycle? Raised on a farm in Iowa, met his wife when they were in the first grade, and didn't start dating until high school. As a youngster, not only doing well academically, but his involvement with the Future Farmers of America and the Boy Scout, I think the life and legacy of Charles Manat is the equivalent of motherhood in apple pie, as you hear the story. He went on to serve in the military with the Army JAG Corps. His involvement in politics started with involvement with the Young Democrats, leading their national activity around both the passage of the Civil Rights Act as well as the foundation of the Peace Corps. Both of those accomplishments ringing bells in the same year as we have paid tribute to Sergeant Shriver, to Secretary Christopher as well. In addition to his involvement in democratic politics, I think it bears recognizing that he served as a member of the George Washington University Board of Trustees for nearly 2 decades, and together with his wife Kathleen, founded the Manat Democracy Fellowship at the International Foundation of Election Systems, consistent with his service as an ambassador to the Dominican Republic. And many, many other accolades. All I can say, again, in paying tribute to a hero and a leader from folks in the business circles, the political circles, the governmental circles, the civic circles around the country, is that I was proud to have gotten to know him a little bit, proud to have sought his counsel, and proud to have benefited from his support. I joined the entire Senate in paying tribute to Charles Manat.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Are there any other members who wish to speak in connection with this in memoriam? Senator Vargas, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I also met Chuck Manat in 1995 in Washington, D.C. Went to speak to him on an issue of the city of San Diego. And very interestingly, we spoke for hours because his son, Timothy, had converted to Catholicism and had entered the Jesuit order. And so he was quite curious about the Jesuits, and since I had spent 5 years in the Jesuits, he wanted to know all about them. So we spoke for hours, and I know that he missed a couple of his meetings because they were coming in to say, you have another meeting, and he goes, well, wait a minute, I have a little more to talk to this young man about. So we actually spent that night also at dinner, and I got to know him fairly well. Whenever I'd go to D.C., I'd stop by and say hello. And so I know that his son now, I believe, is the president of Cristo Rey Jesuit High School in Minneapolis. He is a Jesuit, and I know that the Jesuit family also prays for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Vargas. Members, are there any other members of the Senate who wish to speak on this matter? If not, then Senator Steinberg and members, we will say once again, we send our sympathies to friends and family of Ambassador Manat, as well as our thanks for a lifetime of public service. And Senator De Leon, once again, we would ask that you be sure to bring the name forward so that Ambassador Manat's passing can be properly memorialized. Senator Steinberg.
I know that there are other mics up, but I have an adjourn in memory for a former member, if that's all right. I want to adjourn in memory of former Assembly member Dick Floyd. Remember Dick Floyd, who passed away Thursday evening due to complications from diabetes. He was 80 years old. He was the third of 6 children. He served in the Assembly for 16 years. He represented the 53rd District from 1980 to 92 and the 55th District from 96 to 2000. He's best known for actually a very famous law that required motorcycle safety helmets, controversial, but that was the work of Dick Floyd. I remember him. I served with him for 2 years when I got elected to the Assembly, and I don't know, I guess then Speaker Villaraigosa, and he had a little something, a little spat, and I came in, and Dick Floyd was the chair of the Labor Committee, and next thing I found myself as the chair of the Labor Committee. So Mr. Floyd didn't talk to me for a little while, but then he became a friend and, kind of a real old salt of the legislature. He was a guy who, we talk about bill limits and limiting the number of bills. He would introduce 75 to 80 bills every session. Now, most of them wouldn't move, but he had bills, right? A handout here, handout there, and he was really sort of the old school Dick Floyd, and I think was a real part of the fabric of this institution for a long, long time. And the last thing I will say about him is that he loved kids, because every time the child or niece or nephew of a member would come on into the Capitol or constituent, in his desk, most of us have, note cards and things to write our notes. He had little toys, stuffed animals that he would always give to kids, and he had a good soft heart. We remember Dick Floyd, passed away at age 80, former Assembly member. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Steinberg. Members, do we have other adjourn in memories under motions and resolutions? Senator Berryhill.
Mr. President, I actually have purposes of quick introduction, if it's appropriate at this point in time.
Very appropriate at this time. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you. Members, with us today we have a foreign exchange student from Germany. Would like to take just a moment to welcome them. If you guys could stand up in the back. Marianne Jensen and her daughter Julia. They're folks out of my hometown of Modesto. Pillars in the community. They have a foreign exchange student staying with them for 3 weeks. His father actually serves in the parliament in Germany. How many years? 16 years. He's been in the parliament, so he's here. He's just on the end of his trip now, and he wanted to come up to the Capitol here and see how we do business up here. So please give him a warm Capitol welcome for coming up here today.
Thank you, Senator Berryhill. We're pleased to welcome your guests to the Senate chambers. Senator LaMalfa, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Adjourn in memory.
Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you. Sadly, I must rise today to adjourn in memory of U.S. Army Specialist Ruben Lopez. He's and his family, many are residents in Colusa County, just up from here. Ruben Lopez was serving in Afghanistan when he became yet another victim of a roadside bomb during his service. His family, the Lopez family, has a long, rich history of service to our nation, including his grandfather who served in Korea, and currently his sister Rachel, who serves in the U.S. Army as well. He's a brother to 4 sisters. Both of his parents, his grandparents, all speak so well of him and of his devotion to his family and, of course, as we know, to his nation. So I thank this body for adjourning in his memory today. Our prayers and hearts go out to all the Lopez and related family. Thank you.
Senator LaMalfa, thank you. Please convey the sympathies of the Senate to friends and family, as well as thanks for the service rendered. Senator Kehoe, for what purpose do you rise?
For an adjourn in memory. Thank you, Mr. President. This is an important adjournment in memory, members, and I want you to listen for just a minute. It is with great sadness that I rise today to inform you that San Diego police officer Jeremy Henwood was shot and killed in San Diego 2 Saturdays ago on August 6th while he sat in his patrol car on duty. He was surprised and was shot and died a day later. Officer Henwood had just successfully completed 2 combat tours to Iraq and Afghanistan and had just recently rejoined the police department. He is survived by his family, his parents, and a brother. It was a tragic loss of life. His funeral in San Diego last week was attended by over 3,000 San Diegans and many Californians, officers from around the state, including Governor Brown was there as well. He will be missed by, of course, his fellow officers, by thousands of San Diegans that he served, and his family. And also, for your information, earlier that day, another San Diegan was shot by the same accused shooter. His name is Martin Hanna. He did survive, and we ask that we remember him and wish him a speedy recovery. He was badly injured. But I would ask that the Senate remember Jeremy Henwood for his service to my city and to our state and country.
Thank you, Senator Kehoe. Please convey the sympathies of the Senate to the friends and family of the deceased. Please convey our thanks as well for the public service, and please send our best wishes to Mr. Hanna. Senator Lowenthal, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Adjourn in the memory.
Please proceed, Senator.
I have 3 quickly. First is Betty Houston Seal, who was a resident of Long Beach. Mrs. Seal died peacefully in her home at the age of 86. She was born and raised and educated in Long Beach. She was raised with the notion that service really counts, and which she imparted to her own children. She was an academic. She was an activist. She was particularly in tune to those who had the least and needed help the most. She was the first woman who was elected as student body president for Long Beach City College in 1943. She was inducted into the school's Hall of Fame for her academic, charitable, and humanitarian work. She's survived by her husband, William Seal, her daughters, Judy Seal and Nancy Pryor, her son, the Reverend Canon Christopher Seal, 9 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. I also rise to adjourn in the memory of 2 Americans who just recently gave their lives, who were among 2 of the 38 that were shot down in the helicopter in Afghanistan. First, Lieutenant Commander Jonas Kelsall. Jonas is now a resident of was a resident when he died of the city of Shreveport, Louisiana, but his father, Lieutenant Commander Jonas Kelsall's father, is the president and CEO of the Greater Lakewood Chamber of Commerce in the 27th Senate District, very active in our community. And Jonas leaves behind his wife of 3 years, Victoria, his sister Kim, and his mother Terry, and also Staff Sergeant Andrew Harville, who was raised in Long Beach and also gave his life protecting this country as one of the 2 that were shot down. I would like the Senate to adjourn in their memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lowenthal. I am advised by the desk staff that we need to ask you to bring those names forward to ensure that each of these individuals is properly memorialized. And again, the sympathies of the Senate to friends and family, and thanks for the service. Members, we are still under motions and resolutions. Are there any other items at this time under motions and resolutions? If not, if there is no other business, Senator Steinberg, I believe the desk is clear. Senator Steinberg, the desk is clear.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, I want to welcome everybody back. Hope everyone had a nice recess in the district or wherever you may have been. And want to just say that I hope and expect that the last 3.5 weeks of this session are going to be very productive weeks for the Senate, that we're going to do all we can to focus on the single biggest issue, I think, and challenge facing California and this nation, and that is reducing the unemployment rate, putting people back to work. And I look forward to a hot and highly charged session to accomplish some real things for the people of California. In terms of our schedule, Tuesday, tomorrow is a check-in. There will be a Democratic caucus at noon in the Maddie Lounge. Wednesday is also check-in session, and then we'll resume Thursday at 9 o'clock. I would expect about a 3-hour session on Thursday as we try to deal with as many bills as possible so that we can, get to the end, at a reasonable pace here. In the meantime, I know that the Senate Appropriations Committee has a lengthy agenda. Welcome back, everyone. Let's make the last 3.5 weeks memorable. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Steinberg. Members, the Senate will be in recess until 3:30, at which time the adjournment motion will be made. We will reconvene Thursday at 9 a.m. Before we recess, Senator Kehoe, for what purpose do you rise? One moment, please. Senator Kehoe at Senator Kehoe's desk. Members, if we could have your attention for a brief committee announcement.
Senate Appropriations 8 minutes to get back over to 4203. So enjoy your break, and we'll reconvene at 1:30.
1:30, Senate Appropriations reconvenes. Members, thank you. The Senate stands in recess.